heavy at night, in a realm where the sun fades behind the fight. Every scar is a story, every tear is a flame. In this game of survival, nothing stays the same. We break, we fall, but we rise again. Through shattered hopes and the cries of men. Through the darkness, through the pain, we'll build again. We'll stand through the rain. The trials may come, but I won't bow. This is my fight and I'll make it somehow. The road is long, the nights are cold, but the dreams I carry burn like gold. In the chaos, I found my place, a spark of hope in the empty space. We've lost so much, we've given more, but through the trials we'll restore. Through the darkness, through the pain, we'll build again. We'll stand through the rain. The trials may come, but I won't bow. This is my fight and I'll make it somehow. Every fall, we learn to stand. Through the darkness, through the pain, we'll build again. We'll stand through the rain. The trials may come, but I won't bow. This is my fight and I'll make it somehow. Make it somehow. Make it somehow.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pax Dei, the search for steel. As we move through the episodes, we talk about different topics, ones that catch our interests. For now, episode 85, I've been choosing the topics. And tonight's topic is the purpose of resumes and applications, philosophical insights into communication and recruitment, and a little bit about writing standout resumes. And all this, as always, we will apply a little bit to Pax Dei. What we can. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to put in the question of the day, or at least a question in chat. What's the best resume or application advice you've ever received? Share it in the chat or in the comment section if you're picking this up a little later. I was just putting out flower pots to make my beautification of my master bedroom and my third floor master chambers. I don't get a lot of chance to decorate, and I think it's a really good option to have in Pax Dei. There's a lot to we'll have a decoration that personifies, or not a good word. Let me think of another word. We're going to be talking about how to come up with real good words that can attribute to Empyr's personality. In the background, I will be using Emphyr to go mine some stuff. I will probably only take a few potions today because I won't be trying to get into combat. But then again, one never knows. Actually, I got this last time. This potion of vitality 3 gives me 2.5 stamina per second, and it's really good for mining. I will be bringing a sword with a weapon, shield, and something's missing from my inventory. I wonder if I dropped it. I've been doing a few things around the old homestead. And in doing so, I probably... Alright, I don't have any arrows, and that's good. I don't have a bow. I'm just going to mine. Alright, let's get into it. So, one of the things that we look at, especially when you're looking for a job, to be employed by someone else, right? And I particularly, I'm very particular in that statement. Oh, why? Because you don't need a resume or a CV if you are starting up your own company, or you have a business on the side that is adequate for your needs. However, these are all things that will add to your resume if you choose to diversify into corporate America. One of the other things that can be applicable to the conversation tonight is, for those of you who have your own business, I'd like to hear from you, but a resume of your business to a customer might be necessary. Accomplishments, goals, and we'll get into that. So let's look at some in-game parallels before we start, because part of the conversations we have is critical thinking, philosophy. How do we take the ancient learnings and apply them to today's situations? So MMORPGs, like Pax Dei, have guild applications, and let me show you that. So if you look at, I gotta find it. All right, there we go. If you go to party in L, that's my redeeming queue. But the applications, guild application, here we go. First off, developers, put it where I can find it. There is a way to do it. Let me find it real quick, though. No, not that one. Here we go. The social. So you have the friends lists, and of course you have all the offline and online people that you know is connected to Discord. Maybe it's in here. Clan. Here we go. Yeah, that should be on social, huh? Anyway, clans. They give you a nice ancient Fey chant. Youthful I was, traveled alone, but found myself lost. Wealthy I felt when a person met one's greatest joy is another. How interesting. But you can find your clan. You can either find a specific clan you're looking for, choose member status and such. And what you would do is you open an application. So if I wanted to, for example, do that, the House of Leapin. House of Leapin has 2 members. Here's their clan advertisement, which they haven't. But then I would hit apply and it would shoot off an email to them. And you can create a clan from in there too. So clan, either you're sought out by a clan or you can find a clan that you're interested in. Do you want a big clan? Do you want to stick with a small clan? So far in early access, there are some big clans, but I think they're going to get a lot bigger. I haven't seen anything over like 25. I don't even think I've seen 25. However, point being is that the clan stuff is definitely part of the game, right? You're not going to, especially after first version comes out, the main version comes out. I mentioned in my podcast last night that I'm pretty high level. I'm fairly high level in many different skills. That's not going to happen when this, not in the short term. And when the first release comes out, I don't know many people who are going to try to get all of them because it'll be a more flushed out game, right? So what are we talking about tonight? And this is real world stuff too, right? A lot of us, at least me, I question everything that we do. Why in the heck do we do resumes, right? Why don't we just call the company, find out who the hiring manager is and talk to them right away? It's not necessarily an interview, it's an introduction. We can get into the hiring process a little later or in another podcast. But a definition is a resume or CV. CVs are used in Europe. I'm not sure about Asia, honestly. If there's any players from Asia, let me know if you use CVs. CVs, and there's legal stuff behind, in the United States especially, behind everything you can put on a CV, what you don't have to put on a resume, excuse me. There's laws through resumes and CVs, so we won't be going into those laws, but I do know a few things here and there, but I wouldn't say I'm an expert. So, is a concise summary of your skills and experience and accomplishments. Well, what's the purpose? I'm going to have I did research on it, but the best one I could find is to market yourself effectively for a specific role. To help employers or recruiters quickly assess your fit for a position. So in Pax Dei, you would be filling out the application as I showed you just a few moments earlier, highlighting your in-game skills, some of the accomplishments you've done, your alignment with the guild's goals, and the guild's goals, I might add, on the first guild that I showed you, wasn't very outlined. They didn't have anything. For those aldermen that are creating the advertisement, ensure that you have the culture you want to build within the advertisement. That'll give people the ability to address those certain things. All right. Let's see. So an experienced crafter might mention their mastery of specific trades or contribution to past guilds. You also might mention which magical items or rare magical items you can craft. You might not be able to craft them without the materials, but the recipes are just as important in Pax Dei. Let's jump to a little bit of the insights on communications and recruitment, right? Or do we? Do we want to? Yeah, we do. All right. So, as you know, this channel likes to take from the ancient philosophers. So Aristotle, and what we're doing is communication, because in ancient times, you didn't necessarily have a resume per se. And we can get into a conversation about that in maybe another podcast. How did they do it, right? Do some research. It's awesome. I love doing that. Every topic I bring up, I can fork out into different areas that I want to learn. And is this information relevant to today, to my life? Maybe. But in this instance, I wanted to focus on communication advice that the philosophers have given us. Aristotle, basically, he sought or told of the logos, pathos, and ethos. Well, basically, effective communication requires logic, emotional appeal, and credibility. In your applications and guild applications, you have to balance factual achievement, or logos, with personal passion, pathos, and demonstrated reliability, ethos. Very interesting that we can draw that parallel to today's resumes and in-game resumes with Aristotle, almost, 2,000 years ago? 2,500 years ago now? Confucius said harmony in communication comes from mutual respect and understanding. Use respectful and clear language in applications or interviews to build rapport. Makes sense. You want to be factual, right? So you're basically creating a respect factor, right? So that gets interesting with Confucius, because it is the underlying, if you had to put it in Aristotle, it's the pathos, right? One thing I cannot stress enough, and we'll go into, as we're writing resumes, a little bit more in depth on how to do this. But part of respect is using words that are concise. Sometimes words that are concise are simple, and sometimes they are elaborate. Don't reduce your vocabulary level to a simplistic, so simplistic, that the hiring manager might think you're disrespecting them because you have, or they might view you as uneducated or what have you by using too simplistic of words. So take the time to get a thesaurus and a dictionary, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, because those are really old tools. However, let's go to Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure, has ruined me for Socrates. So, they called him Socrates, if you haven't seen the movie. Socrates. So the Socratic method emphasizes asking questions to uncover deeper truths. Employers and guild leaders can use open-ended questions to assess candidates' values and problem-solving abilities. And we'll go into more detail about certain aspects of what we're talking about, but we're just going cursory. So philosophers on choosing the right person. So we know the person that's applying for the job, usually us, but knowing what that person on the other side of the table or phone or Zoom call, whatever, however you are looking at it, helps us draft our resume. What are they looking for, right? Plato, in the Republic, Plato emphasizes specialization. Individuals should focus on roles that align with their natural abilities. For example, choose candidates based on their strengths and how those skills meet the organization's needs. Also, you want the strengths that would grow your organization as well. Don't limit yourself too much. What else do we have here? I'm trying to navigate and talk at the same time. Chanakya, Indian philosopher, said in the Arthastrasa, discussed selecting trustworthy and skilled individuals for governance. Makes sense, right? Trustworthy. Notice the theme here. Marcus Aurelius in the Roman Empire. Stoic leadership involves evaluating character and adaptability. Assess how candidates respond to challenges and change. Two very important concepts in business, right? So we look at the ancient philosophers, and as we read them, we notice that those philosophers can teach us a lot about today's business practices. Pretty valuable stuff. But what we don't do is teach enough of this in schools, or we really skim over the important stuff. So it is incumbent for every individual listening. Improve yourself. No one will do it for you. Alright. Usually I fight for those, but I'm not going to today. Okay. So let's talk about the bulk of the conversation. Writing effective resumes and apply it to the clan application as well. So we'll talk resumes, but I believe CVs would share the same rules. And if they don't, or you feel they don't, please put it in the chat or the comments. Like I said, I love learning, and I have not put in for an overseas job with a CV. All right. So highlight relevant skills and achievements for the role. Okay, so this is where a lot of people, me included, especially if I'm not employed and I want to cover as many job postings as possible, reading the description and knowing I am a good fit for it. But each job or position is just a little bit different than the next, right? So when we look at it, when we look at the role itself, we want to craft our resume for the specific asks and detail of that role. Many people, including me, will say, holy crap, we would be spending so much time on just one resume for a shot that may or may not occur with the amount of people applying for the position. And to that, I would say, you're absolutely right. Yes, I am not going to throw shade on that. Absolutely. You're going to craft a single resume for a position, not hear back from the company for ever, or if they respond at all. And you've spent an hour on your resume for that position. So how many resumes can you put out, especially if you're not in a position let me say it a different way. if you're not in a good financial position while you're out of work, you need a job. And I totally empathize with that because I've been there. So, if you have the time, I would highly recommend it. However, I understand that this will be hard, if not impossible to do. Now, with all of that said, let's go into the tools that can make that happen. And I just read an article today on LinkedIn that said too many people are using AIs for their resumes. Yeah, but companies are using AIs to filter their resumes. If you use the AI as a tool, not to write your resume, but as a tool to help you write that resume for the specific role, you will be able to do it much faster. So that hour might be a half hour. Still significant. However, you're crafting it with a tool, right? Or helping craft it with a tool. Use action verbs to quantify results. So, for example, you increased team efficiency by 20%. It is so important, if you can, to quantify what you did and how successful it was. And trust me, again, here's where I put the disclaimer. I have things on my resume that I can't quantify. All right? Can you try to quantify it? Yeah. But we want to make sure or ensure that our integrity is intact. Could we make something up that's an estimate? Well, if it's in good faith, if it's an estimate, yeah, say, well, I think that was around 10%. I don't have the data in front of me, but good faith, yeah, I think I can confidently say that without impugning my honor, if you will. And I think that's acceptable. You're not lying. You're just trying to figure out something that was not as quantifiable as other skills, right? So let's see. Again, we are not lying on our resume. That's the worst thing to do. And I hit the wrong button. There we go. All right. I guess there's worse things to do. Like, I think you get my general meaning. We're not here to write a resume that's false. For clan applications, well, what would you do? Well, specific in-game achievements, right? What did you do? How did you do it? How long did it take to do it? Statistics here or percentages, that's a total guessing game unless you really want to figure out and take the time to figure out what's going on. I was hoping that there's still rocks around here. All right. Example. I've mastered crafting this rare item and would love to contribute to guild-wide crafting events. Why not? So, common mistakes to avoid. Overloading your resumes with irrelevant information. We talked about this just a few moments ago. You need to be specific to the role. Anything else that you feel is contributing to your resume, not really. If I take another potion, I'm going to be really upset. I don't know why I can't hit my short key. I don't know why I'm putting it away, but I like to see him run, I guess. So. Alright, let's see. This guy usually picks this. I don't know why he's not here. I'd be just farming this day in and day out. Okay. Failing to tailor your applications to the specific job or the specific guild. And if I just copy and paste for a guild, then that'd be interesting. there's a little bit more at play with MMORPGs than in the real world. Meaning, a lot of in-game RPGs or MMORPGs, they want to bolster their ranks. So you'll get a lot more response or responsiveness to your applications. You might get an in-game message, and you talk and et cetera, et cetera. But the responsiveness is going to be a little bit higher in the percentage of them getting back to you. Companies, on the other hand, not really. There's also a couple different things here that I want to point out. When I say overloading resumes with irrelevant information, I'm not speaking to leaving some of your best accomplishments out. And the reason for that is... I'm sorry, I have to take a pause here. All right. The reason for that is if you can make, if you can make it relevant to the position in any way, you want to keep that information, right? I could imagine that not many of us have an infinite amount of experience in order to have a specific skill set for every role that match our career. How should I say that a little bit simpler? Each job has its own roles and responsibilities. Let's take just a static, what's a good one? Customer service rep. Well, customer service rep in one company might be different than another company. So the skill set, or the skills, or the accomplishments might not translate completely. So we have to come up with certain things on our own, right? In order to meet those roles and responsibilities, or the criteria that was mentioned in the job description. And then failing to tailor, again, this is, if you really want the job and you have time, you should. And I'm going to put a big disclaimer on this. I mentioned it earlier again. AI, our companies are using AIs to be the gatekeepers for resumes that are coming into their system. Sometimes the hiring manager, well, I'd say majority of the time, the hiring manager won't even see it. Heck, HR probably won't see it 25% of the time because of these filters in the software. We've seen it 100 times on LinkedIn. If you have a LinkedIn, I highly advise it. Look through your feed sometime, and you'll see a lot of articles, a lot of people noting how hard is it to get through the gatekeepers of the of the company, right? To me, this does a disservice to the company. Unfortunately, just because it does a disservice to the company doesn't mean it does a disservice. Well, it will do a disservice to you. Alright, but it does a disservice to it does do a disservice to the company and you, because you might be the best candidate that applied. However, your resume didn't get through because you didn't use the right wording, or you thought to put this skill versus the skill that the AI, the human resources management tool decided to filter off. Well, we don't have that skill. And it might be a relevant skill, but it's a computer program. You don't have the right keywords. I think you get where I'm And it becomes very frustrating, not only for the applicant, but definitely for the company as well. They might get 10,000 resumes, and filter through until they see maybe 5 resumes. Does that it costs the company money? AI can help you craft your resume, or tell you if you're really a fit for the role. LinkedIn actually has an AI to look over your AI profile or your LinkedIn profile, and it basically says, am I a good fit? You press the button and it goes through your resume and it goes through your LinkedIn profile, and it'll say no or yes depending on how good of a fit you are for the position as written. One of the things I also noticed as a candidate is that the position as written isn't necessarily what you enter. Let's talk about that a little bit, but what about the flip side? Like I said, you need to know what they're looking for and what you basically you need to put yourself in their position. Without putting yourself in their position, you might not know exactly how to tailor your resume. Right? And AI is not going to help you unless you can prompt it properly. So when you're looking for the right person for the clan or the job, right? You're looking at behavioral interview questions to understand the past actions, and they always give a question similar to this. Tell me about a time you resolved a team conflict. How many of us have gone to interviews with that very thing, right? That very question. In an earlier episode of my podcast, I mentioned that you, as a person, should follow. I always forget his name. Vin Gang's advice. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Vin. Anyway, his advice is write a story down every day. Just one. Something that happened that day, or perhaps, just a funny anecdote. Just any story. And what that will do for you is it will create a folder of stories. Let's say you've done this for 365 days. Well, what is that going to do for you? Well, you'll have 365 stories in which to choose something to answer that question. And how many times a day do we have a conflict that we had to resolve to continue our job or our task? Write it down. It might not have been significant, but because it was a conflict, you could answer the example question I just proposed. So I highly advise going over to his channel. He has great advice for how to tell a story, vocal inflection. I just saw a video from him, and it's an older video, and I've seen it before. But basically, he goes through and says, you have a look. How did he put it? Like I said, go over it. He's so much more eloquent with this than I am. But in essence, he says, you have an outer look. You have an outer, what's a good word for that? He used the perfect word, and I can't think of it. Let me think here, because it's important. This is an important point. I'll think of it a little later. It is an important point, but in essence, what he was saying is you dress good. People react to how you're dressed. Like you dress for an interview. Well, how do you dress for an interview? Well, you dress to the nines, right? You want to be presentable or you want to get the job, right? So you want to make a good impression. The second component is the vocal component. And the reason he brings that up is you can be dressed to the nines. If you sound like you don't know what you're talking about, you're not going to get the position. But you look good. You look like you could handle the position, right? People perceive different things when you approach them. Same on the resume and same, but when you're talking communication or when you're studying communication, you want to ensure that you're perceived, especially in an interview, in the light of in a good light. There you go. All right. So in-game recruitment, right? It's not much different, honestly. You might use trial periods, and jobs actually use trial periods, by the way. So let's kind of bounce back and forth. Use trial periods to evaluate a recruit's compatibility with the guild. Well, jobs do this all the time. Positions do this all the time. Companies do this all the time. They say you have a 90-day window, and basically they're evaluating you for a cultural fit, right? And why do they do that? Well, the simple answer is if you don't fit in, especially in a guild, you're not going to have fun, and no one around you will have fun. In a company, you're not going to do the job, and nobody will want you or help you to do the job. So you'll be driving people away, right? You'll be a social outcast in a social position that you need help, possibly. Somebody's already been here. Interesting. I don't remember. Huh. That's all right. Let's see if there's another one around here. I can't remember. I don't think they're bonus section. All right. So let's look at some philosophical reflections on evaluation. Aristotle's golden mean. Look for balance in candidates, neither overly aggressive nor too passive. I'm going to shout out the extroverts and the introverts at the same time. What makes you an introvert and an extrovert may be the very thing that prevents you from getting the job. Extroverts might be perceived as too aggressive. Introverts might be perceived as not or too quiet, not able to, not aggressive enough. We'll say it that way. So, yes, that's a catch-22 for you introverts over there. But same with the extroverts, right? It's not like it's a one-sided dynamic. The whole point of balance, that's the point that Aristotle's trying to make. Confucius says, ensure that individuals live up to the roles they claim. And what does he call this? Rectification of names. Makes sense. If you tell me you can do something at a certain level, then I want to see that level. And I want you to be able to complete the tasks that I provide to you, because as a good leader, I'm going to give you tasks that will be challenging to the level you're at. And why do I say it that way? Well, leaders should challenge people. People who aren't challenged tend to leave positions. They're usually like, yeah, I'm out of here. I'm bored. So if you look for tools for recruitment and evaluation, you're looking for in real life. I mentioned it before, but it's called an ATS, an applicant tracking system, and they literally filter resumes. Now the old ATS were dumb. they, they filtered exactly what you wanted to filter, or you didn't filter enough, meaning as the role of HR, you didn't put the parameters. Think of these as searching for keywords or hashtags within your resume, not actually hashtags, but the ATS would filter out or filter the resumes that had the most keywords that they were looking for. Now, this disadvantages a company. Now, with the advent of AI, there should be, especially large language models, LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini, who else does one? Bard does one. Claude 2.0 does it. There's a couple LLMs that are pretty decent. And I assure you, the ATS is not near that level unless they're leveraging the LLMs from those companies, which would cost the company doing the hiring a lot more money. So how do we as potential candidates get through this wall of Mordor? Well, we don't, put simply. We want to adhere to the role as much as possible. The description of the role. That'll get us the ability to word our resumes in such a way where the ATS may or may not, or may not filter our resume out. Remember, the ATS is the gatekeeper. He's the guard in the old medieval city that if you didn't get past the guard, you're not getting in the city. So when you look at that, you want to ensure that your resume is tailored to the position as much as possible. Have AIs not write your resume, but enhance your resume for the position that you are applying to. This does two things. It gets your creativity. It enhances your creativity. Well, how does it do this? Well, it's a Kickstarter. It's a little, because everything that you do, especially resume writing, that's boring. It's your life. You know what you did. It's hard to express into words for two reasons. One, we think that it says something, and it doesn't say exactly that thing. And the second thing is we may be using words that won't trigger or will trigger the ATS to filter us out. So what does AI do? Prompt it right, put in the job description into the AI, put in your resume, see where the AI, and ask the question to the AI, where in my resume, or how's my resume comparing to this job description? Give me places I can improve my wording, etc., and hit enter, right? So AI is a powerful tool for not only a job applicant, but for the company. Shoo! Excuse me. All right. Well, in-game guild applications are the only thing that you have in an MMORPG for now in Pax Dei. So I was about to sneeze again. So when you're looking at a game setting, you get to the interview right away, right? And the guild might be like, you know what? You say you're a good healer. Get your equipment together. We'll cover any costs that if you lose anything. come over, we'll form a party, we'll go to this dungeon, we'll raid it. And you'll be like, yeah, sure. That makes sense. And they'll do an actual performance test. In the real world, only a few jobs will do that, and they're usually high skill jobs that require you to prove that you have the physical ability. A firefighter, for example, a police officer might have this. I'm not sure. I know firefighters do. So when we look at tools for recruitment in both game and I just have to stop here for a second and pause. That's my house. It's almost finished. Looks good, right? From a distance. So far, so good. Lots of balconies facing the river. Ha! Oh, I did it on the run. Interesting. It's cooled out a minute to almost 2 minutes. Well, it is 2 minutes, so. Oh. That's a border. It tries to put your avatar where it thinks you were going. And sometimes it bounces you back behind something. And notice nothing's built at my house yet. Gotta give it a minute. Alright. So what else can we talk about? In the comment section or the chat, let me know your experiences with drafting. There we go. This game. I was getting kind of concerned for a second. I was like, where's all my stuff? I need a lot of this because I want to get my blacksmithing up. I need extreme plants. And right now, wrought iron is the way to do that. I'll need the ghost to get steel from this weekend. And that's down in the old forest, so that might take a little bit more time than I do. As you can see, I am here, my plot on the west in the eastern side of Gale. And the old forest is all the way over here. And it looks like there's a ridge here preventing me from going from north, which is our bog, down into the old forest. I might be able to. What I want to do is there's a lot of mining over here. There's also a lot of creatures over there. Over here is a lot of creatures. There's a lot of mining. So I've never made it to the quarry area for the stone. There's stone right here. And I'm wondering if there's a big patch there. Oh, that's for another day. Let's talk more about resumes. So, how do you even hear about the job? Put that in the chat comments. I hear about them from a couple different sources. Sometimes I go directly to the website of the company. It's not my standard go-to, though, if I'm honest. My standard go-to is probably LinkedIn. And then, what's my second? Nah, that's my big one. I need to really diversify where I'm looking for positions. Because not all, well, go into the companies you're guaranteed and do your search, do your research on the company first, and then decide whether or not you really want to work for the company. You might be able to use LinkedIn, not might, you will be able to use LinkedIn to find out from people who work at the company what their experience is. And so you reach out to LinkedIn saying, hey, I'm gonna apply for this position. or I've applied to the position. And I'm curious about what it's like to work there. Do you know, is it a big company? Do you even know this position exists? Do you know what organization within your company this position exists? There's a lot of questions that, and people are generally helpful. They're not going to cast you aside, so to speak. I am trying to think what I want to do. Go hunting again. Always need leather. Yeah, let's go hunting. I don't need that. I do need that. And I'll bring this. And I will bring that. Since I'll be killing bars, I'll bring this. Of course, the bows come in with me, which means I need arrows, but I'm also going to level up this arming sword, so it's that. That's a good combination. I don't really need too big armor. But I do need some arrows. And since I'm going hunting, I'll do 50. Alright. So when you're job hunting, there's another aspect to this that I wanted to bring up. And that is, don't let anybody tell you that AI is off limits. Absolutely infuriating that people would take tools away from somebody trying to find a job, especially if they have multiple if they need to apply to multiple positions a day. Absolutely infuriating. And we're all honest here. When was the last time you ever heard back from a company in a timely manner or at all? We have articles out there, YouTube videos that say even the news has and I say the news loosely, even the television news has said that when you're looking at a position, it might not even exist. It might be the company, and it's, I call them ghost positions. I forget what they call them, but they might have called them the same thing. But the point is, the company's positions, in my opinion, should never be fake. And there's a lot of arguments. Well, not a lot. There's people who have reason to believe that the company's nefarious in posting some positions on the outside with no intent of filling them. I wish I could say that's okay. But for the person who is trying to get a job in a timely manner, applying to positions that aren't necessarily even real, in my opinion, tend to you'll never know. But you'll put in for the position thinking, man, I wrote the War and Peace of resumes. They're gonna love me. And then, of course, it's not a real position, so they're not even looking at your resume. And if they do look at your resume and they get an interview for a position they're not hiring for, never apply to that company again, ever. They don't need you. They wouldn't respect you even if you applied and got the next job that wasn't a ghost. A company like that just has no morals or ethics, right? And we talk about that on this channel all the time. When we talk about morals, ethics, and just different things, companies, or just humans in general. We talk about, you know, how religion helps us create a society or a trust society, right? And slowly but surely, not only corporations, but people have been taking that high trust society and throwing it away. If I'm lied to, I'm going to be less. That guy's right there. I never saw him there. Really? Okay. He's right on the edge. I saw something weird. All right. So where was I? Applying to positions, right? On the job hunting side, we have to apply to positions. We don't know if they're fake or not. But companies, sometimes they never get back to us, so we don't know if we even make it through their filter. Even if they're gonna have an AI in their ATS system, at least give me a draft email from the artificial intelligence saying, hey, we picked up your resume and we're not moving forward with your candidacy. All right, it's at least that's a response. I do like when companies tell me that my resume is, or I'm not a candidate. Then I can move on. Well, I'll move on anyway, and I highly advise you to move on as well. Don't stop at one company thinking you're going to get the job, and you're in a better position tactically for negotiating if you have another job that's looking at you and you're interviewing with, right? Are you that's one of the questions that you're usually asked during an interview. Are you interviewing with anyone else? And don't lie to them, but a good negotiating position is, yes, I am interviewing. And they're going to ask you, how far are you on the interviewing process? And you can say, well, I'm into, my third interview. I interviewed with the team. Or I'm on the first interview. You don't have to tell them much. Not detailed ones. But it's a good negotiating tactic. So if you make the interview, you need to be able to say that you are continuing to put in for positions. And I would highly advise, 10 positions is fine. If you get a call back from one, you've just won the lottery, in my opinion. But really, I knew that one wasn't going to hit him. Where'd he run off to? I had him and I let him go. Matter of fact, he's going that way, so I can grab this guy. There we go. Oh, good. Hunting 101. Be where they're going, not where they are. I have no idea. Really? There we go. I've been just having the hardest time in the last couple of days with arrows. That's alright. Yeah, so what's another strategy for resume building? Put in the chat, put in the comments, let me know. I can tell you, the CV or resume building, you want to, I can't stress enough to tailor your resume to the position you're going for. And it's so important that a lot of people don't, because they think they need to apply to 6 jobs at the same time. Wow. He tried to get behind me. Did you see that? That's kind of cool. If they make these any more difficult, like with AI, we're definitely going to need better moves on the combat system. Because block and move around them are just not enough for a more intelligent beastie. Alright. Alright. So, let's see. What other's a good strategy? Yep. Maybe I'll do a whole nother show, because I did one on communication. But I can't stress enough. Communication is so important. Knowing what to write, how to write it, when to write it, what adjectives to use. Do you do a cover letter or not? And cover letters irritate me. They really do. And the reason they irritate me is because I never know if they're going to read them. And basically, I'm writing that I love the company, right? I'd love to work for the company. I think he's swell. So please hire me, right? And you're providing additional information to the hiring manager that wouldn't be in your resume. So are they useful? If they get read, yes. Especially if you're looking at explaining a difficult project or a difficult situation in your last project or company, right? Using a cover letter saying, hey, I saw this in your job description, but I honestly didn't have a deliverable, or I wasn't tracking it in such a manner to put it in my resume, but I do have that skill set, right? It gives you an opportunity to go above and beyond, right? Once again, I don't think any of us are master communicators, right? Or if you are, more kudos to you. I'm gonna definitely want to give you the accolades you deserve. But AI is so good in a way of, hey, did you read that the way I intended it to be read? Is a great prompt. And you can use it for more than one thing. Now in MMOs, it's a little bit different. Wow. Man, I need a better bow. I hope the high level bows are actually more accurate than less accurate. Not that I need damage on this. That would have been so sweet. I knew I wasn't going to do that, but there's a certain point at which the arrows become ineffective, and unfortunately, I think they shouldn't. I mean, an arrow in real life can go pretty far. I was hoping, and I know the game has a restriction on the distance, especially if you look in the distance, it's not building the mists on the pale lands, and that's okay. They do the best with what they can, but if they could increase the arrow distance, that would. So back to resume. Now, before that, I'm going to drink a Zevia, not a sponsored spot, but Zevia if you're listening. It's a 0-calorie cola with no sugar and no caffeine, by the way. It's very tasty, too. I advocate for reducing sugar in your diet. It should be used as a treat. So this is a treat for me, but it's a natural sweetener. So I want to make sure that everybody listening realizes that artificial sweeteners, they're not the best thing for you. I guess in moderation, anything's okay. But if you I'm so looking for rosemary. Rosemary is one of those harder ones that you have to go to the Pale Lands for. So if I got the Pale Lands, it's gonna be neat. I'm gonna try it. Anyway, the sweetener they use is called stevia, and it's like 10,000 times sweeter. I'm not exaggerating. Than sugar. So a little bit will go a long way. I do not need those mushrooms. All right. Like it's a tree. And that one should run. Back to... There we go. All right. What else can I tell you about communication? Well, communication is going to be a whole new podcast. I did do one communication podcast earlier, but I'll revisit it because communication is so important, especially on resumes. Which words do you use? How do you form the sentences? What is a good sentence versus, do you shorten or lengthen? How do I create a bullet from this entire story? These are all good questions to master in communication, because you're going to have to, right? These are not questions that you should be taking lightly at all. You don't want to tell a story in a resume. You want to save the story for the interview as much as you want to. Please don't. Your resume is not going to have the correct vocabulary to get past the ATS. Unfortunately, even ChatGPT can't tell me what ATS systems will look for and what they won't look for. Each one is modified or customized, so it's different for everything and everybody. Every different company has a different metrics or outline of how they're going to program their ATS. And for companies out there that are listening, stop. Oh my God, you're missing so many good candidates. And I get it. The argument could be like, well, they didn't communicate well, I don't need them. Oh, well, yeah, that's, I guess so. I mean, I'm not going to argue with it. I doubt that's a factual statement, but I'm not going to argue with it. And even if it is a factual statement for a certain population of candidates, it's not for every candidate. So, there's the rosemary. Do I have this on my map? I think I have this up. Ooh, this is different. Got 11 of those. Nope. Plus 4 more. Nice. And I think I need to go, yep, that way. Let's go get more. Alright, looking at the map. So hard to look into the sun. There it is. Make sure you go around the tree with it. So you want to make sure you got all the rosemary. Alright, and I think that's the rosemary that I'm... Maybe? Let's put it down. Saying that. Yeah, that's gotta be the same one marked. Yeah, it's gotta be the same one marked. Alright. That's alright. It's a more accurate position. Here. Did he really run? I guess he did. I was gonna say, if I got him, that would have been awesome. Nice. Hate the bug. There we go. Alright. Back to it. And over here. I really went through that a little faster than I thought. So I'm kind of running out of material. Other than the game itself. These are old board. I should have Did I cheat? I knew it. I knew that last swing was just a little much for it, but oh well. There we go. Alright. What else is there about resumes applications? Recruitment in MMOs, it's difficult because at one side, at one end, you don't want to recruit people who never show up, right? Because, I mean, I guess it's a number. I guess don't count on people who never show up. I don't know. Honestly, it's not a very big clan if people don't show up. A clan of one. I have 120 people, but none of them show up. That would kind of be, well, lame is one word I can think of. But recruitment is part of that. Is, as we were saying, you need to interview the people, put them through a trial or a trial basis, right? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna do it? Did you meet everybody in the clan? That's another thing. Heck, some companies try to do that crap. How many people have gone through 5 or 6 or 7 rounds of interviews? Absolutely insane, by the way. And shame on those companies. I'm sorry to say it. 7 interviews? The heck, you might as well have them employed or have her employed. Absolutely insane. 7. That's the longest I've heard. I haven't heard anything longer than 7. Heck, 4, in my opinion, is quite a bit. That's quite a bit. That's quite a few. I get meeting the team, right? Meeting the team is one thing. If you are a part of the team, it says a lot about the company, right? For example, if the company wants you to meet the team, maybe the 3rd interview or 2nd interview, they're relaying to you the importance of their team dynamic. Really? Wars are so difficult. Meaning you'll take more damage than like a wolf, right? Even a level 44 wolf. I'd rather fight a bear than a boar, because my equipment just goes through so much abuse. There, I said it. Yeah, so let's see. Going back to the interview process, especially MMOs. Actually, I would for an MMO, and I kind of went through it with the last clan. What I did was, well, what they did, I should say, they invited me, but I really wanted to feel out the clan, right? It's not a bad idea, right? And all of them, all of a bunch of good people. I want to say that out loud. They were accommodating. You know, I still talk to them. We still do a lot of stuff together. I haven't joined yet, and that's mainly because one of them wants me to be level 30 and everything. Very demanding clan. Very demanding. But but my point is, they can they should, and unless you have somebody vouching for a person, and even then, maybe go through an initial period, see if they get along with you and everybody else, right? You don't have to make a decision. I think that's where I'm going, even with in real life with a company. You don't have to make a decision outright. You can hold off on a decision until you're more comfortable. Can't believe I got around that straight. Until you're more comfortable, right, with the person. No. That's exactly what I'm out here for. I don't care about these large animal heads. All right. I'm trying to stay away from the Inquisitors. I just don't want to fight them today. And because I keep forgetting, to eat, it wouldn't help anyway. So, yeah, the MMOs are different because you really want to have, well, I say that, and I wrote an article and I actually put it on LinkedIn on how MMOs could help your leadership. And I truly believe that, honestly. The way you play an MMO shows a lot about who you are. If you want to be evil and you kind of do the evil things, I'm gonna question you. Do you really want to be evil in real life? Are you kidding? I knew I fired low on that one. I knew I'd get the other two to run with that. That's alright. They'll be back. I didn't think I'd get it. I didn't aim high enough. I'm sorry. There he is. A cloak of displacement or camouflage would be really cool. I'm really gonna drop some stuff. Focus. Wars. And I don't need these. God, that's so many. I know I need them for tailoring, but oh my gosh, there's so many I can go get from the home valley. It's not worth it for me to carry. I really don't need that. I'll carry the suit. I'm starting to get low on suit. Alright. See what we got over here. I had to go around the tree or I wouldn't see this thing. There we go. See the little curve in the arrow? You got to account for that kind of stuff. The other aspect to, I think, trial periods in both companies and in MMORPGs is how forthcoming is the person, right? Are they holding information close to the chest? Are they giving it freely? What are they holding to the chest? What are they giving freely? These are all different questions that leaders should be asking. Because if they're not giving information freely in a game with unlimited resources, or unlimited spawns, there's no reason they should give information freely. I mean, if they have no reason to hide the information, and quite literally, there's no reason to hide information in this game. There's no. There's nothing that I have or I've found that I've hidden from. No reason. Well, one, because I'm in a podcast. No, that's not my only reason. Like I said, I'm always thinking of this very at the edges. So might as well enter it every once in a while. Very interesting. I love this biome, but I hate this biome at the same time. The reason I hate this biome is because it's, I think, 3 skulls. Lots of granite. You know what? I'm gonna march this. This is good. Because it's close. It's really close to my house. I'm gonna mark it. Here. If you haven't seen the map, Mastering the Maps episode, please go. It's well worth it. And I'm just gonna do a quick. Wow, there's a ladder. Cool, glad I mapped it. Don't have to go too far into it. There's Wolfsbane. Yeah, I don't need. I'm only looking for animal hides. I'm not looking for any other leathers. So honestly, the only thing, there's only a few. There's no way I'm gonna kill that many animals in order to get all of it. That's all right though. I'll have to walk here. What's that? That is a boar. He can come to me.